Hey friends, welcome to the Book of Joe, my variety channel. Today we're going to do a segment called Baseball Talk with Joe. Yes, the name is in progress. I'm not in love with it, but we're working on it. But today I want to talk about baseball. The Super Bowl is officially over, and we are now 7 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training, whether it be in Florida or Arizona. Baseball is basically here. Now, typically, pitchers and catchers report, then position players report, and then end of February, early March, we begin spring training games, and then beginning of April, we start with the regular season. So, it's a very exciting time. However, there's a little bit of a dark cloud being cast over baseball at this point, which is odd considering revenues are up. Baseball is at an all-time, it has like one of the all-time highs in viewership. In fact, the Cubs and Indians just 2 years ago, that World Series was the highest watched World Series of all time. Baseball is thriving, but yet there's a black cloud. Let me explain this a little bit. So it's not uncommon to find a list of free agent players who have not signed with a team 7 days when pitchers and catchers report. However, it is extremely rare to have as many top-tier all-star level players who have yet to sign a contract. And so the question is being asked around baseball, what is going on? And so I've got a couple thoughts. The number one problem is greed. Right now, I think we're sitting and looking at a perfect storm. So first off, next year, 2019, the free agent market is ridiculous. You've got guys like Bryce Harper, MVP, Manny Machado, who could become an MVP, Clayton Kershaw, who is probably one of the greatest pitchers on the planet. And I hate to say that because I'm a Cubs fan and I hate the Dodgers, but we're talking about some of the top tier talent in baseball are becoming free agents in 2019. With the new collective bargaining agreement, we have a salary cap, essentially, where if teams exceed a certain annual average value for a player across their organization, they will go into a luxury tax, and then they have to pay more money because they crossed the luxury tax. So right now what you see are your typical top spending teams, such as the Yankees and the Dodgers, trying to shed payroll to save up for 2019 because there are some big-time free agents going to be available that in 2019 you could sign those people and it would change your club. So I think that's the first layer that we have to address. I actually think that's the foundation for what's happening. The second situation you have is that owners today have analytic departments. See, a few years ago, it was up to the agents to bring the owners a book about their play. In fact, Scott Boras is notorious for doing this. He would take and he would create an analytical book of his players and give them to the owners, and they would be these big books that talk about how great his players were. Well, today, and actually you could almost kind of look at some of the greatest some of the great baseball operations, such as Theo Epstein from the Cubs, who have built these a massive analytical departments where they know what the players' capabilities are. In fact, today owners have a better understanding of what to expect for next year than ever before. See, in the past, you would sign a free agent based on the volume of work already completed in hopes that they would continue to perform at or near that level. Well, today, we're able to use analytics to decide, okay, this is where they've been, this is where they're going, let's sign them on that. And so where you would have normally a 7-year deal, you're now looking at, as an owner, you're saying, man, they're getting after their prime. At the 5th and 6th and 7th year of that contract, they're going to be on the decline. We don't want to pay $30 million a year for a player who's on his decline. We want to pay $30 million a year for a player who's on his incline. It's because of the CBA. It's because of the analytics. It's because of guys like Scott Boras. Certainly, I would tell you that Scott Boras, who is a notoriously aggressive agent, has yet to, not one of his free agents have signed to date, that we sit in a situation where we're now 7 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting, and you have some of the top tier players in baseball yet to have signed a contract. And it's super aggravating as a person who lives paycheck to paycheck when you hear about a player such as JD Martinez, who is being courted, so to speak, by the Boston Red Sox, and they have offered him a 5-year, $125 million contract, and he is actually, reports today came out that he is fed up with Boston and their that they're not being flexible with him. Buddy, you've got a 5-year, $125 million contract. If in 5 years you don't sign another contract, you have enough money to survive the rest of your life. So I'm sorry. I am not sorry. In fact, this whole thing in the end becomes bad for the fans. In fact, today I heard that the Players Union is creating a spring training camp for the unsigned free agents. I am a season ticket holder for the Chicago Cubs when it comes to spring training because I live in Arizona and they practice here in Arizona. So I go to as many spring training games as possible. I am disappointed to hear that potentially for the Cubs, because we still anticipate to sign one more top tier pitcher, that I won't get to see them pitch in spring training while they're off at some other facility practicing and getting warm while they work out this negotiation situation. I truly believe there is one word that sums up everything that's happening in the free agency market, and that is called greed. Greed on the owner's part, greed on the player's part. It's just greed all around. Look, I love baseball. And I'm not going to sit here and say that baseball players don't work their tail off, especially in the minor leagues. I mean, there are some really, if you want, there are some really good minor league channels out there that you can follow about guys in their daily lives. I mean, these guys are living in vans, out of hotel rooms. They don't make any money, and they're hoping for a day to get a shot to get into an organization where they can make league minimum, which is fantastic amounts of money. I think league minimum today is like $400,000 a year to play baseball. Now, if you watch baseball and you're not like an avid fan, you probably, oh, well, it's just, you play first. These guys play 162 games. They grind all day long. I mean, they go play day games into night games into day games, back-to-backs, double headers. I mean, these guys are grinding. There's no doubt about it. Baseball is a tough sport. But if I've been offered $125 million and I'm complaining of whether it's a 5-year deal or a 7-year deal, I say take the 5-year deal, get back on the field, and in 5 years, then maybe negotiate a smaller deal for your final 2 years of your MLB career. I just, as a fan, it's bad for us. It's greed. But what's really concerning is what's been happening in the media between the players, the agents, and baseball. There's been several agents who have came out in the last couple of days saying we should have a boycott on spring training. Basically, players should not show up to spring training because there's some sort of collusion happening at the ownership level. And then you've got Scott Boras coming out saying this is the worst it's ever been. There's clearly collusion. It's happening. And then you have baseball coming back and telling Scott, relax. You have no idea what you're talking about. That all teams want to win. See, the problem is and look what is she doing? Addie, you're stealing the show here. I'm getting into a groove here. This is baseball. I get excited. I don't know what I was going. In any case, I've rambled on, and I could go on for a long time about this. We are in a bad situation where it's very reminiscent of 1994, and with the volleying going back between MLB, the agents, and the Players Union, right after signing a new CBA, it's really sad to see the state of baseball because it's thriving. Fans are showing up in droves to watch baseball happen. Guys like Aaron Judge are hitting this cover off the ball without using steroids. I mean, we're talking at a time in baseball where it's been fun to watch. You've got teams like the Houston Astros and the Chicago Cubs, and hopefully maybe the Indians here soon. Teams that aren't historically paying top dollars to be in the playoffs are winning. They're in there. This is a good time for baseball, but yet there's this black cloud that is hovering over the sport as we get down towards 7 days now before pitchers and catchers report and top players like Yu Darvish, Jake Arrieta, JD Martinez, Eric Hosmer, which a majority of those, by the way, with the exception I think of Yu Darvish, are all Scott Boras clients, have yet to sign a contract on where they're going to play in 2018. And that is a problem. And the worst part of it is they're sitting on $100 million contracts and they're complaining about the number of years on the contract. That's what it comes down to, is that they want more years and ownership doesn't want to pay players for their decline. I mean, look at what the Angels did with Albert Pujols. They gave that guy like $200 million for 10 years. The guy's, I'm already telling you right now, it will come out someday that his birth certificate was doctored. He's older than he says he is. he's going to continue to be on his decline. And I think they still have 2 to 3 years left on his contract, and he is declining. I mean, he's a great player. He's a Hall of Fame player, but he is on the decline. He's on the back end of his prime. Players are in their prime, in their early 20s, in their mid 20s, 25 through 29, and then after 30 they decline. Guys like Jake Arrieta, and it drives me nuts because I love him. He helped us win a World Series. I like Jake Arrieta, but when he sits there and says, I'm not going to take a hometown discount, I'm going to take top dollars, I want to get paid $100 million for 7 years or whatever ridiculous amount he's asking for, it frustrates a fan like me who's like, what happened to city and team loyalty? I mean, look at Tony Gwynn. I mean, that was a guy who took less money to be a Padre for life. And you know what? I respect that. I respect these guys who want to play for their cities, who want to play for their teams, who are willing to take... I mean, I would even say Todd Frazier, who just signed a 2-year, $17 million deal. He took a team-friendly contract to play baseball. He's not sitting there saying, I expect 5 years, $100 million when the market isn't bearing it. Anyway, I could go on all day and all day and all day and all day and all day. All day and all night, I guess is what the right saying is. But if you're still watching... I hope you are. If you're still watching and you like baseball, hit the subscribe button. Just note, I'm going to be doing other types of things too, so it's not just all baseball all the time, but I will be talking about a lot more baseball on this channel than I have in the past, because I never talked about baseball at all. It's going to be Cubs season. I'm going to tell you, I will give you guys my predictions once spring training gets here and we kind of flush out what's happening with these last 5 to 7 top tier free agents who are affecting the entire sport of baseball, and I blame it all on Scott Boras. Once they get signed, I will go ahead and I will make my predictions. But I can tell you one prediction I'm going to make right now, that the Chicago Cubs will be in the 2018 World Series. And if I had to guess, it's either going to be the Yankees or the Astros. But I will make those predictions later on in a different episode once we kind of see what happens with this free agent market. But either way, 7 days. Pitchers and catchers report, and baseball is officially here. So... until next time, my friends, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Throw up those thumbs if you like this video. Tell me, what do you think about what the current state of the Players Union, the CBA, baseball, the owners? Who do you think is wrong? Because right now, I just think baseball is wrong, and the fans are the ones who are getting screwed. That's off camera because I'm doing a friendly channel. Peace.